Hey, it's Juck. At number one, the most beautiful uniform in all of sport. If they brought back the gray stripes, this thing is so far out in front of everybody, you can't touch it. We are not bemoaning the noon kickoff. We are now owning it. It's a badge of honor. We're the lunatic fringe that defines our coach's legacy when it comes to this game. They don't get to define that outside the family. We're cut from a different cloth. We're Ohioans. Do I want Michigan to beat Oklahoma? No way in hell. I don't know what world I'm living in. This is insane to me. And if you saw my outburst, I apologize. It's showtime now. It is showtime, and welcome into Juck on Bucks. Appreciate you so much for joining me. Normally what I do when Ohio State gets a commitment is I make a separate video for that individual, talk about him, put his highlights in there. No matter if it's someone everybody's excited about or not. I mean, I'm excited about every commitment, but some of them get very few views. But I like to do it just because I feel like, man, if that was my son, I think that would be really cool to be able to like pop on YouTube and just have this little one-off, like there's his commitment video. So I do it. This one, I'm going to have to chop up and put out there into the internet space like this because they've just worn me out, man. We've got a double commitment video today, 2-in-1, and also a little bit of a Juckeyes recruiting chat all rolled into one. As Ohio State's terror continues, they have had so many victims that they have stolen their guys from in the last 40 days. If we go back to October 11th to today, Ohio State has flipped a total or earned the commitment of a total of 13 total guys, 13 dudes in 40 days. Now that's both in the class of 2026 and 27, but my gosh, this is amazing. In the class of 2026, I believe the total's up to 9 now, 9 guys in that time period. There's obviously some reasons for this, and we can discuss those. In fact, I think we'll discuss those reasons tonight on Buckeye Huddle Primetime, which will be at 8 p.m. over on the Buckeye Huddle channel. That'll be live towards the end of the show. It's also a call-in show. If anybody wants to call in and talk to me about recruiting or anything else, feel free to hop on to Buckeye Huddle Primetime at 8 p.m. We're there every Monday and Wednesday, and we always take those calls at the end of the show now. But the Buckeyes have reasons for doing it like this, and you know, nobody could have seen these coming in the summer. They couldn't have seen these reasons coming in the summer. So we'll talk about why that is. And we're seeing some disingenuous arguments kind of float out right now. Is there's a lot of Buckeye infighting, which just irritates me. Like the bottom line is we should all be really, really happy right now. And we are really, really happy as the class has now moved up to the number 6th ranked class in the country after sitting there at 9 for quite a while post summer. And the Buckeyes generally add about 3 guys in the class after that period. And as I said, now up to 9. I think they'll get to 10 as cornerback CJ Brona out of Windermere, Florida, will make his decision here, I believe, by the end of this week. I also believe he'll choose the Buckeyes. But let's get to those commitments that came in on Tuesday as the Buckeyes grab 2. The Buckeyes get 2 commitments on Tuesday. You know what? Before I get into that, I did a show not long ago celebrating our 1 millionth view here at Juck on Bucks, which was amazing. It felt sensational to reach that nice round number. And we have just had a record last 28 days. The last 28 days, we've done about 400,000 views and downloads. And I forget sometimes that there are new people watching all the time. I always feel like I'm talking to people who've been around here forever and know my personality and know how we do things here. But for the new folks, I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping in. Please subscribe to the show. That's the currency by which we operate here in this YouTube space. Subscribe to anybody you like if you want to see them be successful. It's very, very important. And also like the videos. But let's get to Tyler Bowen, who is an absolute monster of a recruiter. We have talked about his offensive line play recently, and he had a stretch where they weren't doing so hot. But there's been a ton of changes. They're now dealing with 3 offensive line coaches. I think they did a great job getting on the same page, coaching things the same way. You got Marcus Johnson, Charlie Dickey, both were offensive line coaches last year, had their own rooms at Oklahoma State and Purdue, respectively. And then you got the boss man, Tyler Bowen, who was an offensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. So you got these 3 guys running the show with the offensive line. And you got a new offensive coordinator, and there's been a few hiccups here and there. The way they bounced back against UCLA after a poor performance against Purdue was fantastic. And Tyler Bowen when it comes to recruiting, not only do I love what he's done so far, but I love his philosophy. And we're kind of seeing his philosophy unfold here as he's working on now his second class, the class of 2027, his first full cycle. Remember, 2026, not a full cycle for him. So it's unfair, and I take this approach with any coach, it's unfair to judge them until their first complete cycle. And we're watching it in 2027. And what has he done? Well, he's just secured his third commitment of the class of 2027 relatively early. And I love the commitment. It's Brody McNeel. He is a 2027 kid, obviously. And now he's got a nice core in his class as Brody joins Kellen Weimer, joins Mason Wilt, two Ohio kids, Brody from Virginia. Brody, like Kellen Weimer, a kid that can swing, either he probably play all five positions on the offensive line. Mason Wilt, a road grader guard. When we talk about offers that are still out in the state of Ohio, there are two more remaining in the state of Ohio, and Davis Seaman from Bishop Watterson. He is a more athletic tackle at about 6'5", 265. And then you got Khalil Johnson, who is kind of the ideal frame at about 6'6.5", really, really long kid, transferred from Cincinnati Princeton to Moeller. He's like the perfect tackle to build on, like a perfect lump of clay. And obviously those two, Tyler Bowen once, but now that he's got three guys in the class, he can essentially just go big game hunting from here on in, as none of these guys are going anywhere. So you got 5-star Mark Matthews, who looks like things are going really good. He is the number one tackle in the country currently out of St. Thomas Aquinas down in Florida. He's been to visit. He really loves Ohio State. We'll see how things go there. Kennedy Brown out of Texas, another 5-star tackle, and things are looking really well there. And that's going to come down in the end to what we've seen these tackle kind of races come down to in the end recently. A lot of it's going to be the financial package and how much you want to invest. How much do you want that top tier first round draft pick kind of prospect tackle? And we've seen, Ohio State lucked out this year having Sam Greer home. So they got the leg up with that. And Sam Greer just about as good of a shot at being that first round left tackle as any of these other guys, any of the Felix Ojos, or maybe not Jackson Cantwell. I actually think he is a cut above everybody else in where he's at currently in his development. But Sam has every opportunity to be the number one drafted left tackle out of that class. And you luck out there. Could Khalil Johnson be that? I think that there's maybe a shot, but he's not where Sam was at that point. My point is, it's going to come down usually to the financial package and how much you want to invest. Ohio State can beat any of the other contenders if they want to spend that kind of money. I just got to wonder, do you? Is that where you want to invest in the salary cap era? Because to me, the difference between that NFL left tackle on your college football team, who is a first round draft pick, versus the difference in that college football team when you have that tackle who is a 5th or 6th round draft pick, I don't think it's as consequential to have that first rounder there as it is at other positions. I think it results in minimal points on the scoreboard from the first round tackle to the 6th round tackle. When you are talking about these guys and the differences, you're talking about the first rounder is going to give up 0 sacks. The 5th rounder might give up 2 on the season, might maybe not quite as good of as a run blocker. But when we talk about other positions, when we look at the differences between, for instance, skill positions, when we're talking about a first round wide receiver versus a 5th or 6th round wide receiver, a first round quarterback versus a 5th or 6th round quarterback, a Quinshon Judkins or Travion Henderson, 2nd round running back versus an undrafted free agent running back who makes it in the league. The difference to the football team on the scoreboard at skill positions in college football seems to be outsized compared to offensive linemen. But those offensive lineman prospects are more expensive because they're more rare. I personally think that now that in this era you are dealing with these salary cap decisions and you can't have a first round draft pick everywhere, that the offensive line going for these Jackson Cantwell, Felix Ojo, Brandon Baker, Jordan Seaton type of guys is probably not the best way to invest for that first round money. You can only pick a few positions to do it at. I just don't think that's the one. You look at Ohio State winning the national championship last year. You had 2 first round draft picks and they were both excellent. They were both fantastic. Well, you look at this year, you've got Austin Saravel playing tackle, and he's playing tackle very, very well. Austin Saravel is not going to be an NFL tackle. He's going to be an NFL guard, and he'll be drafted, and he'll be a solid NFL guard to very good, but he's not an NFL tackle. You look on the right side. Is Phil an NFL tackle? I don't know. My point is, neither of them are those shoe-in first-round type NFL tackles, but this offensive line as a unit at this point this season versus this point last season looks just as good at times. We'll see about the consistency, but we had issues at times with that line last year. Obviously you had some injuries to work through, but the point is, I just don't know on the scoreboard. You got to choose. You have to make tough decisions here. Where do we invest that first round money in? I don't think left tackle is the place to do it. And I kind of love the way that Tyler Bowen has gone about things. My colleague, Tony Gerdeman over at Buckeye Huddle, puts it like this when it comes to this discussion. Paris Johnson was every bit the Jackson Cantwell type of kid, right? The can't miss first round, perfect size, perfect aggression, great athleticism, left tackle prospect. If you are running a proper program, that guy is going to see the field maybe his second year, where Paris did, not at left tackle though. And Ohio State was able to get 1 starting year out of Paris at left tackle. A tremendous year for Paris at left tackle. 1 year, but you don't get to pay that guy the big bucks in this era just for that 1 year. You are investing a whole lot of money in that guy for that 1 year. Maybe you're lucky and you get 2, but if you get 2, how was your offensive line room that you needed him in year 2 and couldn't wait on his development a little bit? Nonetheless, man, the point is, I don't believe that that's the position that you should be throwing the, $3 million contract at the Mark Matthews is of the world. So we'll see how they go, but I personally really like what they've got in state. And I love the way Tyler Bowen's been going about that. When you've got a state like Ohio that produces guys like they do, we've now seen Tyler Bowen take full advantage, and he seems to really get it. As Tyler Bowen, of his, he's had now 8 total commitments in both 26 and 27, and 5 of them have been kids from Ohio. And he understands that he's got lumps of clay here and in this very developmental position. He wants to take advantage of that. He wants to develop these guys. Does he got the kids that got the right stuff? The kids that have the right attitude, the kids that want to be here, the kids that want to work, that want to play the style of football that he wants to play. Does he have what he needs right here in state? He does. And that's why he's offered so many kids. Like I said, 5 offers already to Ohio kids in the class of 2027. This time last year, you had 3 Ohio kids that were offered in the class of 2026. So a totally different philosophy from Tyler Bowen. I think that it is the proper philosophy. And when you look at the offensive line right now at Ohio State, there are 4 Ohio kids. They take a ton of pride in it. They walk around and fist bump each other, Ohio boys. It's something. It means something. It means something to them. And it's obviously a position that the state produces. So that said, you do have a couple of other guys in 2027 that he could potentially even offer if he doesn't end up getting, in his big game hunting search, any of those big dogs. You got Patrick O'Brien, who is Kalel Johnson's teammate at Moeller, who he may develop and be a little better. Reed Gherkin out of Perrysburg, who is also really, really good. And, he's been a guy he's visited several times, and he's kind of on the cusp there. But that's kind of my philosophy there when we talk about offensive line and Tyler Bowen. But let's talk about the actual prospect here, Brody McNeel. Brody McNeel, really like him. This is the offensive lineman that I thought we were going to come out of the weekend with a commitment. I said, I think we're going to get another offensive lineman, a blue chipper at that. Brody is that blue chipper we were talking about as he was in town for the UCLA game. But Brody decided to wait till Tuesday. Now, Brody, out of Virginia, a 6'5", 280 pounder, listed as an interior. But when you watch this guy play, I'm not so sure he's not someone similar to his classmate and future teammate, Kellen Weimer, who won't be versatile enough to play tackle as well, maybe all 5 spots. I really like this guy. He's got a lot of bend to him. He's got a lot of strength to him. He's got a lot of aggression to him. And again, I like what Tyler Bowen is seeing in him. And he seems to be going after a lot of these guys that have a very similar frame, similar athleticism, and that they're right at that cutoff line, right? That 6'5", where you can go either way. You can go either way. And he seems to really be zeroing in on those guys. We're not seeing guys that are 6'3.5". You're a guard. 6'7", you're a tackle. He's got these versatile dudes all over the place. And it's interesting when we look at the guys that he's got playing tackle right now, like Phil. When you see Phil doesn't, he's not very tall. He's got long arms, but he doesn't look like the stereotypical tackle body. He looks like a guard, to be quite honest. His thighs are like, he just looks like a road grader. Obviously, Searveld looks like that as well. And Searveld, I think, is probably 6'4.5". I don't even think he's 6'5". But those are the guys he's got playing tackle. So he loves the versatility, loves to be able to move these guys around, and he likes to get as many of them as he can. Clearly, Kellen Weimer, I think Brody McNeel fits in with that as well. So smooth mover, plays through the whistle, doesn't look rigid or stiff, not as much of an athlete as Kellen Weimer, but certainly a heck of an athlete, which I think is perfect. Now, rivals, he is a 4-star top 125 prospect in the country. And the 247 composite has him as number 234. So a solid blue chipper all the way around the board. The number 3 player in the state of Virginia. Had not acquired a massive offer list yet, but he would have. Penn State, Tennessee, outside of Ohio State, his biggest offers. But remember, Tyler Bowen, coming from Virginia Tech, knows that area very well. Not only did he recruit Virginia when he was at Virginia Tech, he recruited Virginia when he was at Penn State. So the dude absolutely knows the area. Brody, also a basketball player. He visited this summer. They got a good look at him at camp. He camped with him this summer. So they got a good look at him, hands-on. And he was a guy who was very high on Tyler Bowen's priority list. So Brody, also a kid from his mom, on his mom's side of the family. They're from Ohio, from Southwest Ohio. His sister goes to the University of Dayton, and they actually were just in town a week before the UCLA game to watch her play, I believe, basketball. So Brody now joins the class. He's number 7 in the class of 2027. And the class of 2027 off to a great start nationally, as it sits at number 3 in the country, led by top 3 wide receiver in the country, Jameer Brown, top 10 safety in the country, Eli Johnson out of the state of Texas, who committed Friday on this terror, top 100 quarterback, Brady Edmonds, who's been the leader of this class. He has done a hell of a lot of work. Brady, a Juckeye. We love Brady here. A California kid who grew up a Buckeye fan, thanks to grandpa, who's from Cuyahoga Falls, right next door to where I'm at. And Brady is, we'll call him Buckeye adjacent as far as a hometown kid here. Then you got Kellen Weimer out of Liberty Center, top 100 offensive lineman who committed just during this stretch, as well as Brody McNeel, we'll call him a top 125 offensive lineman, Tuesday commit, and Mason Wilt, the road grader guard out of St. Clairsville. And we cannot forget one of the more interesting prospects that like all eyes are going to be on this kid, right? Jeremiah Smith's little brother, Angelo Smith, who is a safety, currently a little undersized. We'll see if he hits that late growth spurt. Remember, I think Jeremiah has grown an inch since he's been at Ohio State. And you can look at pictures of JJ coming up when he was 17, and he looks like a baby next to Brandon Innes and Carnell. Was always a little bit taller, but now it's a little bit more. So Angelo could continue to grow, but what I love about Angelo is he has got everything Jeremiah's got in the term of work ethic and just nastiness. He's a little bit louder, a little bit of a louder kid, but he's just so nasty. And Mark Givler on one of our Skull Session podcasts, I think, said it best. He hits like you kicked his dog. He hits you like you kicked his dog. It's just like, that's perfect. That is perfect. All right. So that is our commitment of 2027. Brody McNeel. Let's get to 2026. Braxton Rembert, and we did think that Braxton Rembert would be joining the class. Braxton Rembert committed to Wake Forest, and when James Laurinaitis offered him, he was around the 1,300th prospect in the country. His list of offers included, and was limited to, William and Mary, Gardner-Webb, East Tennessee, Samford, not Stanford, Samford, Southern Miss, Air Force, Army, Navy, very impressive, Miami, Ohio, USF, and Wofford. So, one Power 4 offer, a 3-star, not even a high 3-star, 1,300 in the country. And I'm impressed by the military academy offers. That means he's got great grades and got the right stuff. You got to be really smart to get those. But when we look at Wake Forest, his only ACC offer, it shows us what? He's serious about football. That's where he wants to go. That's what he wants to do. Took his only P4 opportunity. But for a kid like that, this late in the process, to get an offer out of nowhere from the top program in the country when nobody else was in on him, number one, how did Ohio State even find him? I'm working on that info. Number two, the setup for this story when I saw this offer, it's just amazing. I always look for amazing stories, and immediately my brain's spinning, like thinking 3 years down the road with this dude starting at Ohio State and us sitting here talking about this guy had one P4 offer and was committed to Wake Forest. And this is not a Chris Olave was a 3-star situation. Chris Olave, number one, was a 3-star in the 247 composite, 247 internal. He was the top 200 player in the country. He had offers from USC, Michigan, Nebraska, Florida, Notre Dame, Oregon. People were after Chris Olave. The story has the potential to be amazing. And obviously, when Ohio State got in on him, it had to feel amazing. I asked him why he chose Ohio State. Of course, we know why he chose Ohio State, but I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he said that James Laurinaitis told him the old story that he talks to his linebackers about often, and he's told us this many times. But he told Braxton the story, I was a 3-star too, and when I got to Ohio State, even when I was a star, I felt like every year they were trying to recruit over me and replace me. And I had to keep that from happening. And that's the way it is in the NFL. And Ohio State prepares you for that. And Braxton said, I feel like at Ohio State, I'll never be able to become complacent where I'm at or where I stand within the team. And James says this all the time to his guys. It's basically, it's my job to replace you, and it's your job to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's a great lesson to teach young guys about kind of the cruel realities of professional sports and start them off now. And it certainly keeps the dudes motivated. Braxton Rembert was attracted to that, a kid who nobody else at Ohio State's level was after. And you would think that might create some doubt in you, right? That might create some doubt in you, some doubt in your self-belief. Not for him. He hears that and he jumps towards it, which says a lot about him to me. At 6'5", 200 pounds, out of Hoshton, Georgia, Mill Creek High School, same as Caleb Downs. And clearly, James Laurinaitis sees an athlete with physical measurables that you can't teach. And I've seen some people say, I don't want a 6'5" linebacker. That's too tall. Sonny Styles is listed at 6'4". I actually think he's closer to 6'5" now. Definitely 6'4.5". But, you know, what's a half an inch or two? Like when you look at linebackers, tall linebackers running out in space, sometimes when they are a little slimmer, it looks a little gangly, their limbs, it just looks a little unathletic. The lateral movement and the lateral quickness sometimes doesn't look quite as crisp. And I saw a little bit of that in Braxton's junior film. His senior film, noticeably more coordinated athlete. He's continuing to grow into his body. I've seen some people say maybe he ends up at edge. Okay. Or maybe he just stays in the linebacker room and plays a lot of edge like we see Arvell, Who knows? The point is, we want as many quality football players as we can get, and your position can change as your body changes. We've got Simeon Caldwell in this class as a safety, almost universally accepted that he will at some point move down to the linebacker room. What's it matter? You're bringing in the best football players you can bring in. And when it comes to Braxton, he is a sure tackler. Obviously, he's very, very long. He is aggressive, stronger than you would expect for a guy who's just at 200 pounds. He is fast, certainly fast, straightforward, not quite as fast laterally, but the guy looks smooth moving, doesn't look out of place, and he's an excellent basketball player. Remember, playing in Caleb Downs' high school, quality football in the state of Georgia, and dude's a really good basketball player. I like him as a prospect, but let's keep in mind, when Rivals heard Ohio State was after him, they took another look at him. And I was wondering, did any other schools come calling once they heard Ohio State offered? And I asked Braxton about that, and they didn't. So I asked him if he felt overlooked by both his ranking and his lack of offers from big-time schools. And he said, not overlooked, but unlucky. But God has a plan for everyone. And the reason why I say unlucky is because I was hurt my sophomore and junior year. God blessed me with the opportunity to have a successful senior year. So Rivals picks up on the Ohio State offer. They evaluate his senior film, and Braxton moves from a 3-star, 1,300 such prospect in the country, which is mid 3-star range, to a 4-star top 200 player in the country, which is mid-range 4-star, and right in between CJ Sana and Sincere Johnson. He's not even the lowest ranked linebacker now in this class. That is a huge compliment to both Braxton and to James Laurinaitis. And this is just awesome. Like, this story is set up to be something, and I just love it. I love it. This is how you one up the competition when you're Iowa State, not Ohio State, right? This is how guys like Matt Campbell get over on people, by finding these guys that nobody else knows of. And Wake Forest thought they had themselves one. Can you imagine how salty they are? Especially now that they see this new ranking. Like, yeah, man, we had a blue chipper. Nobody knew about it. Ohio State found out about it. All of a sudden, he gets another look. Yeah, sure enough, he was a blue chipper. Nobody knew but us. We knew, and nobody knew but us, and we had him, and we lost him at the end. That's got to suck. But if you've got Ohio State now operating like this, where they're not just, taking the top of the board, the middle of the board, but also using a lot of resources, and they've talked about evaluations never being more important. Now you've got Ohio State looking for guys like this with their resources that they can put into scouting and evaluating. This means trouble, man. This is trouble. This is an extra one-up that we usually don't see outside of the state of Ohio, right? We see plenty of 3-star kids. We see plenty of 3-star kids who are ranked in the thousandths. We see maybe one every other year, sometimes two, but they're always from the state of Ohio. They're a flyer from the state of Ohio that maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. We talk about this guy, and I've heard things, he's too skinny. Is he going to be a hard gainer? Is he going to be able to gain the weight? I'm an old meathead, and I have paid very close attention since I started this show, really, and started covering recruiting and talking to recruits as to how fast some of these guys that I would have normally thought were hard gainers in my past life. And I'm constantly amazed at what they do with them at Ohio State. Bodpin Miller, for instance. Bodpin, a string bean, right? Bodpin, an incredible quarterback, comes in as an athlete. He's going to be a wide receiver in the class of 2025. And Bodpin was so skinny. Bodpin put on 20 pounds in like 2 months at Ohio State. Same with Devin Sanchez. Very, very slender guys who you would look at in like gym culture and be like, this guy's probably going to be a hard gainer, going to be tough to bulk him up. They fly these guys up. The amount of attention that they put on in money and investment on, strength and conditioning and nutrition, they've just got it dialed in. And there's no doubt that this dude is going to put on that weight fast. And what do you want him at? Ultimately, probably 235. with that speed and that athleticism and that length, that kid's going to be a wrecking ball at 235. And when we look at the linebacker room, the only reason that, well, not the only reason, now there is an additional reason, but we'll talk about that tonight. But the big reason here is Arvell definitely going to be an NFL draft pick. That would have left you with 7 linebackers. You want 8 in the room. And when we look at the linebacker room next year, no Sonny, no Arvell. So you've got clearly Peyton Pierce. In the class with Peyton is Garrett Stover, but Garrett has been passed up on the depth chart by Riley Pettijohn and TJ Alford. Then you have Eli Lee in the class with Riley Pettijohn and TJ Alford. Incoming, you've got Sincere Johnson, CJ Sana, and Braxton Rembert. So that gives you 8 before any potential transfers. And you've now got a minimum of 2 years, where in that 2 years, we can assume you've got Peyton Pierce and Riley Pettijohn with TJ Alford next year. Then if Peyton leaves after that year, he won't have to, but if he does, you've got Riley Pettijohn, TJ Alford, and then one of the younger guys, maybe Sincere, maybe CJ Sana, maybe Eli Lee. And then it won't be till really Braxton's junior year before he'll be called upon to make a contribution, should he be ready, which gives this dude 2 years to go from 200 pounds to 235 and learn the system and potentially be an absolute wrecking ball. And if you've got a defensive coordinator who knows how to use and get the best out of his guys and their skill set, I mean, this guy could be a potential weapon, a real weapon. And I absolutely love it. So exciting stuff with that. And again, what a run these guys have been on. It's been so much fun to watch, to get these constant notifications. And I really love the quality of guys they're getting. The class, again, now the 6th ranked class in the country. I think that's most likely where it's going to end up. I don't think they're going to be able to squeeze into that 5, but what's it matter? It's full of really good football players. It's full of high-level football players. You've got 3 number 1s at their position, and Jay Timmons, the number 1 cornerback. Actually, when we look at this secondary now, if you get C.J. Brana, you got the number 1 corner, the number 7 corner, the number 20 corner in Jordan Thomas, and he is your first pick. So you got 3 top-tier corners. You got 6 safeties in Blaine Bradford and Simeon Caldwell. I mean, like, this class, we could go through them. Matter of fact, we'll wait to go through them. That'll be another show. And we'll probably do offense, then we'll do defense. We'll watch some film, refresh ourselves with all the prospects. There's so many to go over now. So we'll break it up. But so much fun, man. So much fun. I love recruiting, and we will talk a little bit more about the infighting about this class tonight on Buckeye Huddle Primetime. There's been a lot of change in this class and the way they're operating here. And a lot of it was unforeseeable because of a few things. And I'm on the board over at Buckeye Huddle, where you guys can join. It's awesome to be back behind that board. It's the best board if you like to talk Ohio State football all day, the very best. And I'm on them all the boards. Any Ohio State board you can find, I'm there. Not always with my name, because I joined those boards, most of them 7-8 years ago. So, it doesn't say like Juck on Bucks, because that didn't exist. But, there's usually a lot of nastiness on some of those boards. The Buckeye Huddle board is fantastic. Look at high level people, really know their football, and I love it. But even there's some disingenuous discourse about this class. So we'll get into that tonight, as well as a whole lot of other things tonight on Buckeye Huddle Primetime. So join me there. Please subscribe to Juck on Bucks. Please like the video, and I will talk to you guys next time. Appreciate you so much for joining. Juck on Bucks out.